Curious or confused about skincare? The Inky List are here to give you simple answers on the right ingredients for your skin. For personalized advice on your skincare questions or skincare needs in your AM or PM routine, we have skincare advisors ready to chat with you at #AskInky 24/7, 365 days via live chat at theinkylist.com or DM on social at The Inky List. The Inky List believe that knowledge powers change. #AskInky now to achieve your skincare goals.
Hello, I'm Gemma and welcome to another episode of Good Influence. This is the podcast where each week you and I meet a guest who will help us pay attention to something we should know about as well as answer some of your questions. This week we're talking about confidence and community, the importance of having people to relate to, making confidence a practical thing, and how being gentle with ourselves sometimes means treating ourselves like somebody else. So joining me this week is Callie Thorpe. Callie is a writer, model, travel and fashion blogger who often shares about self-love on her social media channels. She's also founder of a community called The Confidence Corner, which posts on Instagram for us all to enjoy, but now also features a membership programme which aims to offer a safe space for plus-size women.
It's the variations that help lift us. You know, being sad helps us realise when we're happy because we can reflect on the sadness. Being confident helps us look back when we're not confident and see, look how much I've grown. Like all those things they all link and it's all part of what makes us good and you know, functioning.
So, I mean, we've just been having a little chat about Love Island before we get started and talking about, you know, social media and all around that. So I guess now that we're going to talk about confidence, we can kind of go straight into social media. And let me start by asking you about the Confidence Corner, because you'd been around online for quite a long time before you created that platform.
Yeah.
I feel like is the case. What led you to create that space?
Well, I think the thing which I really wanted to do when I first started on the internet, it was kind of just like a personal journey that I was going on myself, and obviously my platform was very much about me and what I was experiencing and what I was sharing, and like my own personal like diary, I guess, online. But then I obviously started to realize that I wasn't really alone in the things that I was feeling and experiencing, and that I kind of wanted to make a space where I could make more of a community by where I could also share other people's experiences and stories and uplift other messages that weren't reflecting just my own experiences. And that was kind of where the Confidence Corner came from. And the idea is, I was actually on the few last days of my honeymoon when it popped into my head on a beach in Mexico. And I was like, I really want to start a platform. So I just literally thought of the name and made the Instagram account. And then I just tried to start using it. And at the beginning, the platform was about like general confidence and how confidence was an issue that everyone experienced. And I was really interested in exploring what confidence meant to lots of people. And I found that really interesting. But then as time went on, I realized that the majority of my followers and my people who were interested in following the page happened to also be plus size. And so I realized that I kind of didn't really see a space where there was kind of a particular focus on specifically just plus size. And then I later met with a friend and colleague in the industry who had mentioned that she wanted to work doing something in confidence, and I was sort of like not able to give it all of my time. And she was like, I'd love to do something with you. And we sort of came up with this idea, and we took it on together to see how we could develop that space further and focus on, you know, really uplifting the voices of plus size women and speaking to that audience and being there for them, really.
Do you think that's important in kind of building confidence in more people, is having those examples of seeing? So when you say kind of like platforming different voices, like in plus size women and in different kind of communities, do you think that is important to building the confidence of people in that community in general?
Yeah, because one thing we've developed it even further. We've now got the Confidence Corner is now a membership platform. We actually have a private membership, which it's like a private membership community, and it's really incredible. And I think what we said when we were starting it was, we both work in the influence industry, and we realized that it's so easy to kind of show that we're confident and do, because we're at a point where we've already had like a support network. We found a support network in other plus size influencers or other people in the industry. So that's like, you have got that to kind of bounce off of someone else. But often that with community people who follow you, it can sometimes feel very much like they almost see people as like, that's someone that's very separate to them. And then they say they can't relate and like, oh, well, it's like saying like, well, Gemma feels like that because that's Gemma, but I couldn't feel like that. And we realized the reason why people were still like unconfident and still struggling with self-esteem issues was because they didn't have that kind of direct encouragement from a community of people that were exactly like them, that were going through the same thing as them. And so I realized, that like it was, I just think there was the idea of separating these kind of ideals of like a person who's an influencer or a person who's a celebrity and a person who's following a person. There isn't any difference in between those people, but it feels like there is. And we kind of wanted to make a space where it was like where we could actually provide the tools to give the women the same thing that we had been given ourselves, to give us the chance to be confident enough to be online.
I think that's a really interesting point about kind of looking at people online. And I think, I mean, you and I can kind of say this because we like work in similar industries, but I think it's very easy for people to look at you and like you say, think that you're somebody very different and kind of assume that if you are online and doing anything, that you are already an extremely confident person, which like I feel like is definitely not always the case. Like I know for like just from me, like I'm generally not like an extremely self-confident person. So I think like, it's definitely, there's a divide. But I think, like you say, it's having people to relate to. Do you think that like it's the people around you who are able to build up your confidence? Or do you think that it is something that more so has to come from you, or is it kind of a combination?
I mean, in my opinion, I think personally that confidence is a doing action. You know, it's more about it's not something you're born with. It's not something you can magic out of your hands, and it's kind of also very interchangeable. I've always said that. Like, I really think and confidence also isn't. I always like used to say this on my podcast, because I used to have a podcast called the Confidence Corner. And I always used to talk about the fact that confidence isn't necessarily about being extroverted or any of those things, but it's just being in tune with yourself and being able to sit in your own skin and be secure enough to be okay with that, and okay with your own decisions and who you are as a person. And I do think that there's so many things that come into our lives and knock our confidence. But I think the thing I've realized is that community in general, across everything, and that's in life and that's in, jobs, having a community, whether that's a, community within your workplace or a community in your area, like having community and mutual support is so important, because sometimes things just can't be dealt with alone. You need to be able to relate to someone. I think it's that relatability of like, I'm not alone with feeling this. And so many times, especially in our membership now, it's just so beautiful watching as someone puts in like, they say they share a personal experience, and then just a whole load of people like chime in and say, yes, I felt this, or I felt this, or here's what I did to help combat that, and here's some ideas. And that collective support, I think really does make you helps you feel better. But at the same time, I do think your self-worth and your self-belief and all of that has to come from you. It can't be that everybody validates you. You have to let it be a thing for yourself. So there is this really tricky thing, but I do think community is so important. And I do think being able to relate to somebody else. And I also always a reference back to what I believe is like kind of like a it's like you light a dynamite and the spark goes, and it's like watching someone else feel like, for example, when I first started writing my blog, I wasn't into fashion at all. I was really self-conscious. I'd never wore a bikini in my life. I'd never, I really hated myself. I really despised my body. And I was always trying to lose weight and always trying to be someone else and trying to better myself. And it wasn't until I saw my friend Gabby, a now friend at the time, she was just a person I followed on a blog that I found randomly when I was searching for plus size bikinis. When I saw her in a bikini in the same body type as mine, I'd never seen that before. And it was in seeing her in her bikini that made me be like, well, if she can wear a bikini, I can wear a bikini. And then if she's got the confidence to do that, maybe I could do it. And it's like, I wouldn't have, if I hadn't have seen it, I wouldn't have probably done that. So I think representation is really important. And it kind of sends a spark, because then, after I saw Gabby, I bought a bikini and I wore a bikini. And then people wrote to me and said, oh my God, I've never seen someone with your body shape, same as mine. And then they want to buy a bikini. And it's like, it starts this kind of dynamite, thread where everyone's getting this like spark of joy along the way and taking that chance themselves.
Yeah, that's so nice. And I think, yeah, it's like you say, it has to come from within you, but sometimes you almost like need someone to show you that you can.
Yeah.
Even just to sort of kick it off. So you're kind of saying about having people who are similar to you and having similar experiences and how valuable that is. So on the Confidence Corner, you kind of describe it as like a safe space.
Yeah.
Which I know I've heard a lot of conversation about, like the terms around safe spaces and what people like, which tends to be people whose criticism I perhaps would take with a pinch of salt anyway, but will kind of say, like, oh, people need to be challenged, or like, oh, you can't just separate people off or whatever. But I think I can understand why it would be a really valuable and important thing, because I just think it can be exhausting in general spaces.
Yeah.
And I think especially and I'm not like claiming to understand that experience of being a plus size woman on the internet, but like, why do you think it's important that you have that safe space, as in terms of where it is being a bit sheltered? Because I think that is a good thing, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah, we obviously discussed this because we went from being a page which was like, this is for everybody, and then we went to, this is for plus size women, and it, I was really nervous. I was like, I don't want to leave people out, because I do really strongly believe that everyone has confidence issues, and there are lots of really key and interchanging experiences as women. So it's not, but what I realized was, and it was becoming obvious because of the people that were following the page, that plus size women don't feel safe to talk about the things that they want to talk about, because of the fact that we're still so behind in so many ways. Like when you actually say this sentence about say it loud, people will just be like, that can't be true. You cannot go into the high street and buy plus size clothes over a size 18 in most stores. There's only, I can probably think of 2 stores that you can walk into that do plus sizes, and I don't even think they do them on the high street anymore. That's H&M. Marks and Spencer's go up to a 24 or maybe a 26, I think. Other than that, nowhere. So, we can't get plus size. Most stores, we have a selection, a minimal selection of plus size clothing. So how can, if it's a case of course, in an idealistic world, I would absolutely love for us not to have sectioned off, private spaces exclusive to that experience. But we just don't. Like, ultimately, we don't. We still don't have access to plus size, to even, that, to me, fashion's the very least of the combo. On top of that, fat people, plus size people, however they want to self-define themselves as, they also have limited access to jobs. They get discriminated in the workplace. They get discriminated again against in hospitals and by doctors. They often don't get the full care or the full kind treatment from doctors, and they're always treated as a problem to fix and often seen as lazy or slovenly or, weak-minded or all these different things. And it just, when you think of it like that, it kind of makes you think, like, how would another person feel if they went to the high street and couldn't walk into one shop and find something? Like, it's so demeaning and it's so upsetting. And that's just one tiny experience. There's also navigating dating when you're in a bigger body. There's also navigating online abuse, real life abuse, all of these things come into play. And so and a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about the subjects they want to talk about because of backlash, because of the way the internet reacts. I mean, the internet, how the internet reacts to most things, but try and be a plus size woman saying anything that isn't, I'm trying to lose weight. And then all of a sudden you're promoting obesity. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're weak-minded, all of these different things. So it's like, it's needed because they just don't feel safe enough to talk about things that are really happening to them. And a lot of it's quite traumatic. Like, it's quite hard in our private community space. Often reading things that are really upsetting, and I just think, it just makes you remember all the things you've also gone through. So it's hard, yeah.
Yeah, we had Dr. Joshua Woolrich on earlier in the series and we talked quite a lot about weight stigma and things. So I feel like even on the podcast, hopefully people will be a little bit aware of it. But it is something, like, if you're not experiencing it, then you just won't fully know.
Yeah.
But I think even, like, all that considered, it's then a really beautiful thing that you're creating a space that is about confidence and not even just trying to, like, get through it and navigate, but, like, actually building confidence for people. Because I think that is, like, it's a really hard thing to do. Would you say that you are a confident person generally? Is that, like, something that you've had to work on?
Yeah, I think I used to confuse confidence with extrovertism. Is that a word? Is that even a word, extrovertism? Maybe not. I've always been an extrovert.
I don't know, but I know what you mean by it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I've always been a loudmouth.
Yeah.
Gobby girl. No, I'm joking. I've always been chatty. I've always been, like, tried to always be the life of the party. I've always never really had a problem with my personality and confidence, if that makes sense. That sounds really strange, but I've obviously had dips in confidence. But I think the thing which really hindered me was my self image and my body image. That was where I really lacked confidence. And actually, I always thought I was super confident, and I realized there was so many things I wasn't doing in my life based off of that actually didn't really make me that confident. I wasn't going for the things I wanted to do and being the person I really wanted to be because I had such self-limiting beliefs about myself. But I do think, I will say, like, I'm not, I've never been afraid of public speaking. I was always in, like, theatre productions at school. Like, I love making friends. I could talk to anybody. That's always been me. But I'm also not 100% all the time, and I still struggle so much because I have social anxiety. Not social anxiety, I have anxiety. And my anxiety really affects my confidence because it makes me question myself. I have no trust of myself, and it affects how I show up online and how I show up in the world, really, because it's like a little goblin at the back of my head saying, like, you're not good enough, and that can affect me. So yeah, it's helpful to have a nice community to remind me that I'm trying to do some good in the world, but there's always that anxiety goblin in the back that's like, this is all rubbish and you're useless,
I mean, of course, you're absolutely not useless. But I was going to say, I also think that you being so honest about that and talking about mental health online and on Instagram and stuff is another thing that I think I find really valuable, just to kind of see someone. I feel like there's so many people, and I am very much included, who kind of don't don't really talk about mental health dips and stuff kind of while it's happening. And I totally understand why, because I'm the same, to be honest. Like I find it too hard. And I mean, I'm not saying that you're like always bang in the center, but I do think that you are someone who I will look to and kind of see that you don't just say about how you're feeling, and you never like, I don't know, it's not like you're kind of berating yourself for it or making anyone else like feel bad about it, and it's not like, come on, like pull you up by your bootstraps or whatever, but you are quite practical with it, which I think is nice to see sometimes. So like literally very basic step by step of like, this is how I'm going to try and get out of this funk kind of thing, or just, and that's what you don't really see that much of, as in, because it seems so like the really like small bits of someone's life of when they're, you know, trying to get out of a bad mental health space, that seems so run of the mill that you don't see it a lot. But I love to see that from you. And I think it's kind of similar with confidence, where you talk about the small ways that you can build it up. I think are really good to see.
Yeah. I think that's so true with the mental health conversation. It's been really interesting because I feel like there's this, we're talking about it more than ever, but I think, like, as you said, there's a lot of like discussion of the experience, but it's quite hard to, you know, talk about solutions and like realistic solutions as well, because I find like this idea of, you know, just meditate, just like, no, yes, obviously, no. But also it's not always a fix. It's not always a fix.
If you want to, fine.
Yeah, good for you. But, you know, I listen to a meditation podcast, and all I can hear is like, you didn't do this yesterday, or 7 years ago you said something really offensive to somebody and you're a horrible human being and everyone hates you.
Yeah.
Like, and in the background they're like, and breathe. And I'm like, I love this for me. You know, it's yes, obviously I always recommend, you know, meditation, you know, is great. It is good. And it's important to like, you know, use that time, that quiet space. But like recently I spoke about, I struggled with eating issues for a long time, which is so much of really, I never really speak about it online until recently. But I kind of feel like I want to talk about it because I understand that I'm not the only person that goes through that. And that's not just exclusive to me being plus size either. I know that, you know, eating disorders are on the rise and have very much around and have been for centuries. But the way in which I choose to speak about it now is that I try and not let myself be like, oh, it's fine, you're having, because you know that there is a lot of, oh, be gentle with yourself, mental health response, which yes, of course, be gentle with yourself, but also at times I need to be strict with myself, and that is at some point I have to help myself, because really it's only me that can do it, because external help is important, but it's that fine line between, it's not about being productive or being disciplined. I was talking about it on stories the other day, and I said it's not about rules or discipline. I find that really a sort of crappy words, and I don't like them. But it's more about accountability. I have to be accountable to myself. Yeah. So, you know, when I'm going through a bad period of my mental health and I'm struggling and I'm, you know, binging or, you know, using unhealthy behaviors to deal with what I'm experiencing, it doesn't serve me and it's not going to fix me. So at some point I have to say to myself, this is not helping you. This is not soothing you. This is causing you suffering, and work that out, because otherwise I will stay in it. I'll stay in bed. You know, I'll isolate myself. Like I have to take those steps to be like, to pull myself out into the light almost. And I do think we need to start having that more of a conversation about that, because I think the gentle approach of like, it's okay, and it is okay to feel bad, and it is okay to, you know, have those days, but we also need to be productive and proactive about how we support each other and support ourselves in knowing how to get out of a bad day. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, I think that's right as well, because to be honest, I mean, aside from anything else, I think just adding more variety and like nuance to these conversations is never a bad thing, because everybody going through these things is different, but there are often common themes. And like, as you say, the approach of, you know, just be kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up about it. I mean, I agree with that full stop, but sometimes people need a slightly different approach or need to like see behavior modeled that they think, okay, that's one thing that they've done and it's made them feel a bit better.
Yeah.
Maybe I could try that. Maybe it'll make me feel better. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And different things will work for different people.
Yeah.
But that's what I think is so like people just adding different sort of threads to the mental health conversation, I just always think is so important.
That is so true. And actually, as you said, like my way of coping is not going to be for everybody else. I definitely think always be kind to yourself, always be compassionate to yourself, always allow yourself what you need. But I think it is also helpful to like almost reparent yourself in a way, like treat yourself. I mentioned it, I wrote a post about, I look after my Granch sometimes. We do respite care for my Granch, and he comes in. My Granch is granddad, by the way, to anyone listening. It's a Welsh terminology. And if you follow me, you know who Granch is. He's like, actually people don't even want to follow me anymore. They're only here for my Granch. But anyway, I had my Granch come live with me.
Love to see Granch on the gram.
He's actually a legend, isn't he, Granch? I love him. But when
Such a legend.
He is so good. But when Granch is here, obviously my priority is my Granch, and so I make sure that I get up in the morning. I make sure he takes his he takes these little fiber gels. They're called fiber gel. They help you go to the loo. I give him a fiber gel. Make sure he has his water. Give him his tablets, then his breakfast, and then he has a rest, a little lay down. Then it's lunchtime, and make him up a little packed lunch or whatever. And then another little rest. So do you want to go outside and sit in the garden and get some fresh air? Do you want to do this? Oh, do you want to watch this on TV? Oh, do you want a snack? All these little things. And it was after my Granch left, I realised just how much care I put into my Granch, in the sense of making sure he had all these little things to make sure he had a really wholesome day, and that he felt good, and all these things. And like, we even bought him like one of those massage guns because he's got very bad knees, bless him. And it was when he left and I was really struggling, with my mental health and my anxiety, I realized just how much I don't do any of that for myself when I'm having a bad mental health period. Like I could go all day without having drank a glass of water, and it's like you start to realize that the way you care for other people is a mirror to how you don't care for yourself. And it's very simple, but it's like, it's just little key things like, could I do with some fresh air? Should I go and sit in the garden for 5 minutes? Will that help me feel better? Should I just go and make myself a little snack pack? Should I have a rest? Should I have a little nap like my Granch does? It's kind of like being gentle. And I think that was a real mirror for me. And that's sort of what I try and do for myself when I'm struggling, is like, or try to at least, is try and care for myself as if I actually love myself. And I think that's so much of mental health issues, is that mental health has a way of telling us that we're not good, that we're not deserving, especially anxiety. It makes you question everything about yourself and who you are. And so sometimes overcoming that and pushing forward and being like, I deserve to at least eat a decent meal today. I deserve to drink water and fluids, and I deserve to get some fresh air. And sometimes that looks like sitting in front of Netflix for 7 hours and watching back-to-back Grey's Anatomy or whatever. And sometimes that looks like going for a walk or do you watch Grey's Anatomy? I love Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, actually, I started watching Grey's Anatomy only a couple of years ago, and it was in like I had like quite a deep depressive episode through like January and February a couple of years ago, and I watched like 15 seasons of Grey's Anatomy in like 5 or 6 weeks.
Love that,
which was pretty intense.
Very intense.
Luckily, that episode eventually passed, but the love for Grey's
remains.
Stays on.
I love that for you. Yes, Grey's is great. But yeah, like I said, it's sometimes about deciding, like, sometimes it is about sitting on the settee and eating crap and doing whatever. And then sometimes it's about not that. So I think it just as you said, apply nuance. Like all of us are individual. And this kind of idea of the internet, which happens very quickly, it's like the new trend is like to do whatever so-and-so's doing. Well, no, like start doing what you want to do and start working out what it is. You need to figure out your own unique recipe. You know, what works for you best. That's it.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, do you think that, or are there any things that you would do to kind of apply the same logic to confidence? Like, do you think there are practical steps that either you take or could advise, or that members of your community have perhaps shared?
Yeah.
That are actual kind of practical things for building confidence? Because
Yeah.
I do think, like, when we have a lot of these conversations, they can be quite abstract, and sometimes you actually want something practical that you can do.
Yeah, one of the things I think is so important is really to curate what you're viewing and what you're seeing. One of the things I realized had such a poor impact on my own mental health and well-being and my self-esteem and my body image issues was I grew up in the era when, you know, it was like Special K diet every bloody day, and it was the berating of women on fronts of magazines, and that had an effect on me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're the same age, aren't we? But I feel like I just realize so much how much we take on board what we see and what we hear and what we follow. And like, let's be real, we're all spending hours online, hours and hours. But if you are going to spend hours and hours online, please do spend it in spaces that make you feel seen, heard, represented, make you feel good, make you question things. Like, you know, I love to follow people that make me question things that I have never heard of before or never seen before. You know, like diversity is really important. I think it's important to see other people's sides and points of view. You know, I think it's just, it's practically for confidence. The one thing I would say is don't buy magazines where they berate women on the front covers for their weight. You know, follow people that look like you, follow people that don't look like you. And, you know, I've never been one, you know, I know a lot of people are like, stand in front of the mirror and look at your body. And no, that's not me. It's not going to be me. That's just not who I am. I've just never indulged in that way with myself. But one thing I do like to do is I like to collect a little folder where I put, like, if I wear a nice outfit and I feel really good in it, I put in a little save folder, and then I go back to that when I feel like I'm struggling, like to get dressed, like, oh, how am I going to feel good? And then I go back, I think, oh, that made me feel nice that day, and I'll put that back on. It's like curate a little, I don't know, just a feel good folder of like how to kind of just feel a bit more confident. And that's a nice little way. But also, I think friends are so important with confidence. They really uplift you when you're struggling, because especially if they're able to, you know, relate. Like I said, it's the relatability. Talk to someone that is going through something like that with you. I know we've texted a lot about mental health stuff and anxiety, haven't we? And I think it's important to be able to relate to someone else and say, you know, I'm not doing that great at the moment, or I'm really struggling, and knowing that you're not, and knowing you're not alone. And I don't know, it just helps a little bit. But yeah, confidence. Remember, confidence is something that is not it's an everyday commitment to yourself, but it's not essential. And, you know, you don't have to, it doesn't make you a better person if you're super confident, you know, but it's important for yourself to, you deserve to feel confident in a way that uplifts you and inspires you to be the person you want to show up as in the world. That's how I see confidence as. And often confidence limits us from doing the things we want in life, being the people we want to be, and being authentic and true to ourselves, because it's so easy to mold ourselves into everything that we see, you know, always new trends, new, you know, this, new that. But like, it's about getting in tune with yourself. Like, do I actually like this, or is this just something that I'm seeing and everyone likes it and I should like it? Do you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of, so that's it. Just curate some nice spaces for yourself.
Curious or confused about skincare? The Inky List are here to give you simple answers on the right ingredients for your skin. For personalized advice on your skincare questions or skincare needs in your AM or PM routine, we have skincare advisors ready to chat with you at #AskInky 24/7, 365 days via live chat at theinkylist.com or DM on social at The Inky List. The Inky List believe that knowledge powers change. #AskInky now to achieve your skincare goals.
If you're looking for the next best thing to invest in, try investing in your long-term health with Forward. Forward is intelligent medicine with a personal touch. Their doctors are dedicated to catching top killers like cancer and heart disease early, which could save you tens of thousands of dollars in the long run. So invest in a doctor that's invested in you. Visit GoForward.com to learn more about how Forward can help you manage your long-term health risks for one flat monthly fee. That's GoForward.com.
Every week, my guest and I will be answering your questions, and the first one comes in from Eliza, who says, do you ever find that your confidence is higher when you're surrounded by a certain group of good for you people, quote unquote, but is scarce when they're no longer there to build you up? And how do you deal with that? I'm not fond of the idea that how confident I feel is based on and can be wavered by the people I surround myself with.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I love that. That is true. That's the thing. It's like, it's about being in tune with yourself, and you can't always there's not always going to be that protection around you, and that sometimes, that's why I was saying about the kind of accountability thing we were talking about earlier. Sometimes you have to be accountable to yourself, and that doesn't involve anybody else. It's just a thing between you and you. And it's important to remember, and especially comes into play with the internet and validation, because I think we all need to be real about the fact that we all do in some way need to feel validated. And the validation that we get on the internet is like a tiny little, like, what do they call it? They say it's like, statistically, they're saying it gives you like a little endorphin or something when you see a like or a comment or something, you know. It's like they're saying
I think it's meant to be like your dopamine levels.
Oh, that's it, the dopamine. I get confused with all.
It's like reward, like feedback.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I think, what is it, Eliza that just said there, that like, she doesn't want to feel like it's all going to come crashing down if she doesn't have this network. And I absolutely agree with you there, because it's so important to remember, because there are going to be times in life when you don't have that, and you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And I think that's part of the journey of the growth, the part of that thing. It's like, it's nice to know that you have a community there, but it and that shouldn't be the sole reason that you are you know. And it's about tapping into it and not needing it as a crutch, you know, not needing the internet to tell me that I'm a good person, to know that I am trying to be a good person, you know. We always, that's a big thing that's happening a lot lately. And I think, it's important just to be like safe and secure, knowing you've got a great community of people that are there to support you, but knowing ultimately that the safety and security is in yourself. And when you go to bed at night and you go to sleep, knowing that you are really absolutely everything you need to be, and are doing the absolute best you can for yourself, not for other people, not for your community. Because so often, I think as well, I've always thought, I need to show up better, and I shouldn't talk about not feeling confident, or I shouldn't talk about my body image issues, because I'm going to feel like a fraud to my community. And I realized that I was letting myself down in order to not let other people down. And you always, I know this is really awful, going to say awful, but you always must let other people down over letting yourself down. That's a horrible thing to say, but sometimes you just have to like make sure that you prioritize yourself, so that you can then show up for other people in a good way. It's the same principle as when you're on a flight. They always say, put your oxygen mask on first before you help someone else. And that is that principle. Always make sure that you're looking after you first, so that you can then show up in a good way to help other people. So absolutely important to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, and then tap into your community, your support network, and use them and support them in the way that you want to be supported.
Love that answer. I think that's very honest as well. And I think, sometimes it's good to hear. It's like, you probably won't feel 100% confident, or, if 70% confidence is your maximum confidence, it doesn't mean that you're going to be there constantly all the time. Like, it can fluctuate and go up and down. And that doesn't mean that that's a failure. It just is the way that it goes, I think.
It's almost normal. I think like it's not normal to be confident all the time, I don't think, because who is happy all the time? Who's sad all the time? That's the ebbs and flows in life. Like, it's the variations that help lift us. Being sad helps us realize when we're happy, because we can reflect on the sadness. Being confident helps us look back when we're not confident and see, look how much I've grown. Like, all those things they all link, and it's all part of what makes us good and functioning.
Next question is from Emily, who says, "Hi Callie, I was wondering what your advice is on confidence in dating. I'm confident in almost all areas of my life, but dating and romantic relationships are my weak point. I always doubt if someone could ever love me in a romantic way. I second guess my worth and belittle myself. Any advice on building confidence in this area?"
Oh, that's a good juicy one, isn't it?
It is.
That is something that comes up so much in our private membership. I cannot tell you, dating's like the number one hot topic in our membership. And one thing I will say is that I do think it's absolutely important for you to understand, Emily, that you are not alone in that feeling. It's so common. It's so common to feel that way. And I think dating does break people in special ways, because it's so, especially now in COVID times.
Yeah.
Everything's all done digitally, and we're showing up as digital people. And, it's like people have almost lost 18 months of their life, to this. And so, timescales, and, people have these timescale pressures, like, age comes in, people start worrying, I'm just turned this age, I need to date, I need to meet someone. And I think, especially as a plus size woman, that's what comes up regularly with the dating conversation, is because of this idea of people judging you based on what you look like. One thing that we've discussed in our membership about this is that the only thing to do when it comes to dating is just to go for it, because there is a chance, and actually there is almost 100% chance that you are going to come across some not very nice people, because a lot of them like to hang out there. And it's not always a pleasant. No, seriously, there's some real nasty people. You have people that put in their bios like no fat girls or no this or no, but I would say, like, first of all, you don't need to date someone to validate yourself and to realize that you're an absolutely amazing person, number one. But it's also okay to say that you want to date and be with someone and, want to experience that human connection with somebody else. But I think the most important thing to do is realize that it's not about this whole idea. I always struggle with like saying you're beautiful and that's all that matters, because actually I think that's kind of a dismissive way of responding to this. Ultimately, what people view as beautiful is different from individual to individual. You just have to be confident in the fact that you are a person that has great things to offer somebody else. And there will be someone out there that has similar enjoyment, similar experiences, similar interests to you. And you will be able to connect on a level which goes aside of image. Because at the end of the day, it's image isn't body, like image and attractiveness isn't the be all and end all of life. And I can say that really and truly, because there's a lot of people, who value image and how someone looks over everything. And I think that's such a crap way to look at life, because there is so much beauty and specialness and uniqueness in individuals. And so I think just be confident, be yourself. I think the biggest thing is be honest. We always talk in the group about the fact that some of the girls have started to put in their, put real, like their full body pictures. A lot of our beautiful, amazing community said they felt too scared to put full body images up because they didn't want to, they felt they didn't really like themselves, or they felt unconfident about the way they looked. And I we've all said in there, myself and Lauren, who my co-founder of the Confidence Corner, we're both like, just put the full body picture up, because that is you and you're going to change you. And when you get there, just be who you are, because you're brilliant as you are. You know, you don't need to change who you are to meet requirements of some bizarre beauty standard that this weird society has made up. Just be yourself, be honest, and show up truly as yourself, and you cannot go wrong. And yes, you're going to come across, like you said, yes, you might come across people that aren't very nice, that make you feel uncomfortable. But see it as an opportunity to explore you and what you like, explore different people, meet different people, see how they make you feel, see it, what it is you want in a partner, and like actually have fun, because dating could be quite fun, you know. Like I said, you know, Lauren, she talks a lot about it in her group as well, and sharing her experiences, and a lot of it is about just experiencing connection with other people, and you know, figuring out what it is you actually want, because a lot of the time none of us really know. I feel like I'm a bit bad for this one, because I've been out of dating for like millions of years now. I've been married like 6 years or whatever it is, and I feel so out of the loop.
She's a smug married.
I am a smug married. I'm such a little smug loser. But no, it's just so hard, because obviously when I met Dan at Sainsbury's, my husband, you know, I literally met him when he was working on customer service, and he gave me a free bag of mincemeat, which sounds very strange, but he did actually give me I know it sounds so very bizarre, but that's how we met.
I love that story so much.
I know. He literally gave me a bag of stuff that was supposed to be designed to make, it was like a free bag of mince and potatoes to make cottage pie. And I thought he was giving me his returns to do. And I was like, I'm not doing your bloody returns. Who do you think you are? And he's like, no, I've just got you this bag of this gift. I was like, thanks for the bag of meat. So sweet. But yeah, you know, everyone's asking me, where do you meet Dan? I'm like, at Sainsbury's, babes. Yeah, I know, I met him at Sainsbury's. So like, start hanging out in the supermarkets. You never know what you can find. But no, truly, I think it's so important to just be confident, go for it, because you know, and make sure you've got a bunch of amazing like people behind you to uplift you in every step of the way. And obviously be safe. You know, it's important to be safe with dating. But yeah, hit me up on the Confidence Corner as well. I'm sure there's more chat from our community that can help with any questions about dating as well.
That is very good advice. Yeah, definitely. If there's already somewhere we can send you for more chat about this, then yeah, that's perfect. Okay, last question is from Rebecca, who says, all throughout high school, I really suffered with low confidence. As I get ready to head to college in August, I've realised I want to get over my lack of confidence. My friends always give me compliments, but I have a hard time accepting them. How can I take compliments I receive and really accept and believe them in a way that they'll build my confidence?
Oh, yeah, this is so hard, this one. Do you know why? Because I still struggle to take compliments. I really struggle to take compliments. Number one rule with compliments is to, when someone gives you a compliment, do not say, oh, no, don't, no, not, no. Surely not, or make a berated joke about yourself. I think what the number one thing to do with taking a compliment is say, thank you, I receive that. Or, you know, I mean, maybe not say I receive that, but to say thank you, because
in your head,
yeah, I say thank you, I receive that, you know, in your head, but just because otherwise it's so easy. I mean, it's hard because I'm quite a sarcastic person. I'm quite self-depreciating. It's part of like, you know, my character trait. I've always been a little bit, I do take the piss out. Sorry, we had to swear on this, Gem. Oh my God, did I just swear?
Oh yeah, go for it.
I always take the piss out of myself. I think that's part of being plus size growing up, is part of your personality sometimes, just to, you know, because so much of my life I always decided to make fun of myself before someone else could make fun of me. So it was like a kind of deflection thing. But I think it's so important to take compliments, because when someone gives you a compliment, they're saying it not just to be nice, but because they really mean it. You know, people don't give out compliments that regular, you know, so really take it on board. And also remember that there are people in life that really love you, and they see the absolute best in you when you see the worst in you. They think that you're the best thing since sliced bread with Lurpak salted butter on top. You know, they think you're fabulous, and you might not be able to see that. but they see something in you that you just don't see. And it's important to let them show you so that you can learn to see it yourself. Because if you don't, and you keep pushing those compliments away, you will not be able to highlight the good things that other people outside of the world see in you. And it's great to be able to be more present in that. If people say, oh, you look so beautiful, or you've got, things like silly things, like when people say, oh, you've got such a beautiful singing voice, and then go, oh, no, I can't sing. I'm just messing around. We'll just say thank you very much, because even if you only sing in your shower, it doesn't matter. It just makes you think, actually, yeah, I do actually like my voice. I do think I have a nice voice. Or you have a really beautiful smile. Well, that's nice to know, like to think when you next smile that the smile that you're giving off is going to make someone else smile. I think it's important. And
yeah.
I read something recently which says, don't believe everything in the good people tell you, and don't take on board too much of the bad. As in, it's striking that balance. We have to try and remain neutral in ourselves and not let things get to our heads. I think that's important as well, because I sometimes think, I always worry that there's a fine line, well, questionable, but is there a fine line between confidence and arrogance? And I think so much of that is, especially for women, is that we're frightened to be seen as confident because we're not allowed to. If you're too confident, you're like, oh, have you seen her? She's full of herself, and it's that kind of attitude of like women specifically, that we shouldn't be loud or be over the top or be too much. But actually, that's nonsense. Be as loud and be as much as you want to be, because you do you, honey. That's what I say. Did I go off the question there? I probably did. Sorry about that.
I don't know, but I enjoyed it anyway. I think you answered it. I think, like kind of what you said, like how do you accept compliments? I mean, I think what you said was important as well. If you think about when you give compliments, like I'm not wandering around dishing out compliments that I don't mean. Like if I say something nice to someone and, you look at someone and say, oh, you look nice today, or, oh, that thing that you did was really good. Or like, I don't just say that for the sake of it. And I don't think a lot of people do. So like if you think about how you like organically give compliments, you only say them if you mean them. So if someone's saying them to you, likelihood is they mean it too. So yeah.
I love it when you get a compliment from a rando in the street. Best thing ever. Love giving them out as well. And you spot a really gorgeous babe down the street and you go, you look so good, you look so nice, where's that lippy from? Or you look lovely. Just the best. It's like injecting an injection of confidence right in the center of you, because it just makes you feel so good. You feel like you're floating when someone gives you a compliment, especially when it's from, like, I love it when it's another woman. I love doing it with plus size babes as well. And I see them, I go, you look so good, babes. Love this outfit on you. And just, I don't know, I just think it's so nice. I think give compliments freely. But as you said, when you really feel them, don't just give them out willy-nilly. But
yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good way to start, like feeling more comfortable with compliments you receive, is like when you think something, practice actually saying it to someone.
Yeah,
like actually give out the compliments that you genuinely mean, and then you kind of, I don't know, might get a little circle of compliments going on.
I love that.
If you want to know about opportunities to send in questions for upcoming guests, then follow us on Instagram or Twitter at goodinfluencegs, and email me at goodinfluencepod@gmail.com. Before you go, I've got 3 things I ask every guest, and that's if listeners want to find out more about what we've been talking about today, could you please recommend us something to read, something to listen to, and something to watch?
Okay. Something to read. I've recently just read it as part of our book club for the Confidence Corner, and it's called The Beauty Myth. It's a really interesting book. It's a feminist piece of literature. It's written in the 90s, actually. And it's a really interesting deep dive into beauty standards and how they were developed, how they live and how they work within marketing and within advertisement, and really how that has all been like part of a way to control women. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting, and yeah, really, it is a bit wordy. It feels a little bit like, sometimes it's not like a sort of an easy read, I would say, but it is really fascinating, especially when they talk about the diet culture industry, like diet culture, and basically the development of diets and why they were created. And it's this idea that encouraging diets was to encourage women to basically not be in their full power, because if you're dieting to the point of starvation, you're not able to fully function as a human being. And so it's like this kind of placative control. So interesting. Really, really enjoyed reading it. I haven't fully finished it but we had a really great chat about it, and we do a book club video every month. And it was just so interesting to speak to other people about how just shocked we were about really how not much has changed since. In fact, things have got worse. It talks to you about the value of the diet industry. I think when it was written, it was like in the millions, and now it's worth like 14. The diet industry is now worth 14 billion.
Oh, good God.
So it's like more than doubled since the cost. Yeah. And then there was also, the cost of the increase in the beauty and plastic surgery industry, and how that's tripled astronomically, and also the porn industry as well. So it's really interesting to see, and looking at the stats and being like, we've actually got worse. We've not got better. And it's really interesting. And also it could genuinely feel like it was written now, even though it was written in the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting. So I really recommend that as a book to read, and to watch, is it, you said?
Watch or listen to. Okay,
can I do 2 watches? They've got 2 good ones.
Of course.
Okay, watch. I really recommend people watch Shrill. It's a series on BBC iPlayer, and it's written by a writer called Lindy West, and it's the story of this young girl, Annie, who lives in America, in Portland, and she's plus size, and it's kind of all about body positivity and her experience navigating the world in a plus size body. But it's really like fun and like kind of topical to like our interests of our age group. And yeah, it's just about, it's got like dating, sex, like what it's like to work, is like she works for a magazine, and her experience with that, like how her parents treat her because of her weight. It's just really, really good. It's funny. It's just a really good, easy watch. And my other recommendation is on Netflix. There's a show called, I think it's called like Ultimate Leftovers or something like that. It's the easiest, most ridiculous, over-the-top cheesy watch ever, but I am obsessed. It's basically how people, it's like a competition, like a cooking competition.
Yeah.
Where they give them something out of the fridge, like leftover Thai food, and they have to make it into something else. And how they make it in from leftover Thai food into like arancini and pasta. And like, it's absolutely wild what they take it from.
That sounds so good.
Oh my God, Jem, I just know you'll love that. It is it's so cheesy. Like, Dan first watched it, he was like, what is this? Because it's so over the top. Like, even at the end, the presenter even like sings a song on a guitar. She goes like, I mean, it's just like, it's ridiculous, but it's just so good. And they go in they get like leftovers from like 2 different cuisines. So they did like, I mean, they do everything, like leftover Chinese, leftover Thai food, leftover breakfast food, leftover birthday cake from kids' parties, and they have to make everything. And like, I watched some of them, I was like, how have they taken birthday cake and made this into like dough balls and like they make so like truly wild stuff. Like, someone made like a Dutch baby, which is not a small child, it's actually like a Yorkshire pudding that's actually savoury. Did you know that? A Dutch baby. Have you ever had one?
No, I haven't, but I've seen it in an episode of a cartoon that I watch. It's like a big pancake kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's basically, but it's actually not. It's actually a Yorkshire pudding. That's the thing. They've duped us. It's not. It looks like a pancake, but it's really more of a Yorkie pud.
Well, pancakes and Yorkshire puddings are the same like batter, are they not? Which always blows my mind. But yeah, makes sense, I guess. I
really want to make one. But yeah, it's just like so interesting. I just love it. And they basically win, like, I think £10,000. Like there's 3 of them on the contestant, and then each person wins. And then they give them like this little leftover. They call it, they give them at the end. It's called a casserole.
Oh my God, this sounds...
It sounds wild. It sounds wild. It's feral. I love it.
It sounds like so much like serotonin in a TV show.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
excited
But they
about
hand over literally a casserole dish filled of 10,000 pounds and they go, here's your casserole. And I'm just like, this is just so good. And you just watch out. I just sat there and watched hours of it. And I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Love it. So yeah, definitely watch that.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to watch that.
Yeah. And then listen. I'll do a listen as well, but I'll be quick. It's called You're Wrong About. And it's an American duo. And they cover interesting topics, and they like sort of break down the statistical truth and information about different subjects. It's really balanced. They do a really good one on the obesity epidemic, which is how I first ended up finding their podcast. But it's just really fascinating, and they're really balanced and like it's quite like there's a lot of dry humor in there, and I just like it. It's a nice, easy listen on a walk. I love a pod on a walk, and obviously your podcast. Love your podcast.
Thank you for listening, and thank you, Callie, for joining me. If you enjoyed the episode, I'd love you to subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're using. And if you've got an extra minute, you can leave a rating and a review as well. Your reviews make a big difference and help other people find the podcasts, and I love reading them. See you next week.
Curious or confused about skincare? The Inky List are here to give you simple answers on the right ingredients for your skin. For personalized advice on your skincare questions or skincare needs in your AM or PM routine, we have skincare advisors ready to chat with you at #AskInky 24/7, 365 days via live chat at theinkylist.com or DM on social at The Inky List. The Inky List believe that knowledge powers change. #AskInky now to achieve your skincare goals.